For coming out. I just have a statement that I'd like to read to the public. First of all, my name is William Fambro. I'm an East Cleveland resident and am a public advocate for social justice. Today is October 27, 2020. October 29, 2025. In a bold stand for local democracy, we from East Cleveland have filed a formal complaint under the Ohio Constitution seeking a hearing for the impeachment of a public officer and challenging the growing trend of state-imposed receiverships that remove local control from working-class citizens. The complaint underscores mounting concerns that state intervention in financially distressed municipalities also often results in the disenfranchisement of local voters and the transfer of decision-making power from elected officials to unelected state appointees. This is not just about East Cleveland, it's about protecting the constitutional rights of working people to govern their own communities. When a state can silence an entire city, every American should be alarmed. For decades, economically challenged cities across the nation have faced systemic disinvestment, aging infrastructure, and shrinking tax bases. East Cleveland's leaders argue that state receivership, rather than addressing these root causes, further destabilizes communities by stripping local authorities, selling off public assets, and consolidating power from the top. State takeovers masquerade as fiscal reform, but they erase democracy where it's needed most. Our residents are not liabilities, they are citizens, and they deserve to be heard. East Cleveland Coalition is calling for national attention and solidarity from journalists, civil rights organizations, labor advocates, and civic leaders across the country. Their goal is to expose the broader implications of state-controlled policies that threaten local self-determination nationwide. And today is our press conference. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mariah Crenshaw, who has more to tell you.
All right, thank you everyone for coming today. We appreciate the support, but we really need to get the word out so that people understand what is going on, not just the federal level. All eyes have been on what's going on with the president, what's going on with the Congress and the Senate and the government shutdown, but we need to be realistic. These things that are happening right here on the local and state levels are going to have long-term impact and effects, which go well beyond the borders of the city of East Cleveland. What we're talking about is consistently we're saying about judicial reform, criminal justice reform. How do we get criminal justice reform if we don't reform the courts as well? Everyone wants to hold police accountable, but we have to start holding judges accountable and prosecutors accountable as well. And so what we have in this particular situation is we have a judge from the probate court who has violated his oath of office. He has violated election laws. He has violated the city charter. He has violated the Ohio Constitution. And Ohio laws clearly state that when an elected official such as a judge exceeds their statutory and judicial authority, they automatically forfeit their public office. This is the law. This is not something I made up. It is the law. The Constitution, both the United States and the Ohio Constitution, allows for us to file a formal complaint and require by law a hearing is supposed to be held before the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives is being resistant to the complaints that have been filed against now 4 judges and Nyla Bird, who is the clerk of courts of Cuyahoga County. All of this wraps into East Cleveland. How does it wrap into East Cleveland? Because they have protected the corruption that has gone on here, and they have helped aid and abet is the correct criminal words. they've helped aid and abet the violation of the rights of the residents of the city of East Cleveland. Lateek Shabazz, most people do not know this, along with other residents, challenged in court some of the issues that were causing East Cleveland to go into a dark fiscal spiral. And that was because they saw the misappropriation of funds by former mayor, now indicted, Brandon King, along with Ernest Smith. They challenged it, convicted and indicted and convicted. They challenged this in the probate court. O'Malley did not want to prosecute the case. Prosecutor O'Malley did not want to prosecute the case. They threw the case out and then it was refiled. Once the case was refiled, O'Malley then decided to pick up the charges and take all the credit and the glory for the prosecution of Brandon King and Ernest Smith. It was a sham. It was all a sham. The bottom line is that you have a current mayor who should have been appointed immediately after that conviction occurred, or actually when he was indicted and removed from office. But instead what you have is you have a judge who exceeded election laws. He violated the city charter, and he violated the Constitution and the revised codes when he appointed Sandra Morgan. Sandra Morgan had no legal authority, and you all heard me say this before because I did a press conference on it. She had no legal authority to be appointed to that office. So a formal complaint has been filed against Judge Anthony Russo with the House of Representatives. The lead counsel, Heather Blessing, is refusing to send the complaint to the state legislature for the required mandated hearing to be held. Why are we fighting this? Well, for two reasons. One reason is because when the state legislature passed that receivership legislation, there was no due process or equal protections under the law embedded in that legislation. What does that mean? It means that anytime the state wants to go to the Court of Claims and say, we want Cleveland, we want Shaker, we want to take them over because they're not fiscally responsible, it will be based on what happens in receivership right here in East Cleveland. The problems go beyond the borders of this small municipality. What we're going to see is regionalism, which means the federal government will take over and govern all of our municipalities over due time. This is dangerous. You've got to understand the GOP is cunning, they are conniving, they are manipulating, and they are scheming. And the Democratic Party needs to wake up. The Democratic Party needs to stop playing nice, and they need to understand that our Constitution right now has been undermined by the President of the United States, right on down to these judges. This is not a trickle down, this is a trickle up. Because the judges are the ones who are violating Ohio laws when they are required by law to enforce them. They don't have all kinds of special authority just because they're a judge. Now, the city of East Cleveland is in peril. There is no doubt about it. The only person in this race that protected your charter was Lateek Shabazz. He is the only person in this race that said you cannot do this to the residents of East Cleveland. And all of you residents within the sound of my voice and on social media that have badmouthed him and talked crazy about him, he has protected you. He has protected your right to self-govern. He has protected your right to have a charter which allows you to self-govern, the same charter that Judge Anthony Russo violated. He violated the city of Cleveland's charter. He appointed someone to a council seat after Kenneth Johnson had been removed under the same statute that Brandon King had been removed. He violated the city charter. What is happening in our courts is they are violating our constitutional rights to self-govern through the judges. And this has to stop because they cannot be sued. They have immunity. They have immunity. And our only recourse is to impeach impeach them. And if Heather Blessing, and I know she'll be seeing this, Heather Blessing, who is the Chief Legislative Officer for the House of Representatives, is watching this, I'm calling you out on this, because the House has a duty to hear the people. And if we have to stand out on the corners to be heard, that's what we're going to do. That's what we're doing. Residents, wake up. They are not coming in here to help you. They are coming in here to take your property taxes up 400%. They are coming in here to take your properties from you. Look at the east side of Cleveland, over by the lake. Those people cannot live over there anymore. People retire because their property taxes have gone up. The government is trying to take your homes, your property, and your constitutional right to self-govern. And it is time for you to wake up and stop saying, well, East Cleveland needs something different. Let me be very clear about this. What caused East Cleveland to go into decay was not just your mayor. It was your police department. Well, guess what? 90% of those bad actors are gone. That caused the deep, dark $65 million plus in lawsuits that happened. We've helped clean that department up. The law department, who took blame, Willa Hemmings and Heather McCullough, stood up and said, well, it was our fault. It was our fault this happened. They're gone. And it was Lateek Shabazz who got in there and started cleaning house. He started cleaning house. He started auditing. He started looking for the money. He started putting things back in proper order. And people on social media, they're talking about, we don't want him. Well, guess what you want? You want corruption. Because Morgan is not going to, she's not going to audit. She didn't audit when she first came through the door. She was swearing in people who were not legally police officers under Ohio law. She lied to the media and told the media they had been civilly service tested. She did not regard the authority of the charter. Even with her appointment, she didn't even question it. So if you're going to embrace Sandra Morgan, you are going to continue to embrace Brandon King and other corruption that has occurred in the city of East Cleveland. She's corrupt. I said it. I'll say it again. She's corrupt. She sat on that Fiscal Oversight Commission and she allowed Brandon King to misappropriate the funds. She watched him use the funds to take care of personal lawsuits. She watched it. The state watched it. Now the insanity of thinking that a receiver is going to come in here appointed by the same fiscal people, the same fiscal officer that oversaw what was going on, to think they're going to come in here and rescue you is insane. Shabazz is the one who has done everything he can, buying through the authority of the charter and the Constitution of Ohio, to try to ensure that East Cleveland gets a steady footing. East Cleveland can recover. It may take a while. It may take some time and some patience, but East Cleveland can recover. But if you give it to Sandra Morgan, based off of the appointment of Judge Anthony Russo, thinking she's the better person instead of appointing Lateek Shabazz like he should have according to the election laws and according to the the city charter. If you're going to trust the opinion of Judge Anthony Russo, to think that she's the better candidate because she can smile and she's the granddaughter of someone famous, she hasn't done anything. She can call on her grandfather and what he did, but what can she call on that she's done?
That's right.
She's done nothing. She saw the corruption. She didn't file one complaint. She didn't file one complaint against Brandon King and the other people who were misappropriating funds. And you all are talking about putting this woman into that public office so she can hand your city over into a receiver who's going to dismantle and dissolve the municipality without hesitation. Hence, you will have no rights. If you think you're going to be able to walk in there and tell the receiver what you want, nope, that's not how that's going to work. He has no legal duty to listen to anything that the residents want. He's going to be there to audit and to dissolve the municipality. Make no mistake about it. And so we are here today to speak loudly and proudly, to tell you to use your vote wisely when it comes to who you gonna put in that mayor's office. If you decide you don't want Lateek Shabazz to be there after all the work he's done and all the protecting he's tried to do, because maybe you don't like the way he speaks, or maybe you don't like the way he thinks, or you don't, whatever the case is, he's done the work. He's done the work. He stepped up to the plate. He did what needed to be done. And if some of you have a problem because Eric Brewer is part of the picture, he is the only mayor that has not been indicted for corruption in East Cleveland. Let's be real about that.
Oh, God dang.
Y'all might not like his pink panty gate scandal, but he's still the only one that was not indicted for stealing and doing the residents wrong. And you should want someone who has the experience, the understanding, the working knowledge of your charter and the Constitution. You should want them engaged and involved to help clean up and bring East Cleveland back. But to embrace the corruption, to accept receivership, to give up your rights to self-governance, to give up your rights to being able to say how you want your city to look. And please understand this, and I say this with all no, it ain't even respect. I take that back. I'm not even gonna say that. Residents, you bear the burden of the reason your city looks the way it does. You have not held your elected officials accountable for decades. You let this happen. You didn't step up to the plate. You didn't hold Brandon King and Gary Norton accountable while they were funneling millions of dollars out of the city. You didn't do that. And so you have to bear some responsibility, and instead of always saying, well, Lateek was on the council and they was fighting all the time. What you think they was fighting about? What do you think they were fighting about? They were fighting about trying to save your city, to protect you. This is the insanity that must stop in East Cleveland. You all have got to get a grip and understand that black people suffered and died so that you would have equal protection and due process rights. And you guys are throwing it away with both hands if you endorse and you vote for Sandra Morgan, because she don't care. She live up on the hill. And the rest of y'all are insignificant. And you can say whatever you want to say, but I'm telling you from a legal point, because that's all that's going to matter at the end of the day is the legalities of all of this, that if you don't put Lateek Shabazz in office, say goodbye to your homes. Say goodbye to your rights. Because now the battle will go beyond East Cleveland. Cleveland will have to fight. Shaker will have to fight. Because that legislation impedes on the right of all municipalities in the state of Ohio. And all the auditor will have to do is tell the Attorney General, we want to take over Cleveland. We want to take over Shaker. We want to take over Garfield. And it's going to start right here in East Cleveland. And you have the power to stop it. You have the power to stop the state from taking over and finishing us all off. So I implore you to wake up. I implore you to do your homework and understand the long-term ramifications of receivership, and to understand that without your charter, you have no rights to self-governance. The receiver does not have to abide by anything that the residents will want, and they will sell this off to nonprofits, and your taxes will go up 400%. And guess what? I'll be on the sideline like this going, I told you so. And that's that. But thank you again for coming out here today. If you have any questions for us, shoot them out to us now.
Thank you, Mariah. I just want to say that I witnessed in the council meetings where the people of East Cleveland badly wanted a brand new fire truck. A brand new fire truck. And I saw the council vote for that. And I heard the legislation where they told former mayor, we want a fire truck, and put aside the money so that in 2 years' time we will be able to purchase the fire truck that we want. 2 years later, Mr. King did not put away the money for the fire truck. What happened instead was they wrote a $2 million check to Cleveland Metro Parks for that. In my priority list, fire truck was first, but other people's minority list, Metro Parks was first. So we have that operating here in East Cleveland. Some people jump and run immediately to the camera when they want to talk about East Cleveland and claim that they represent East Cleveland when they don't. They want receivership, trusteeship, dictatorship for you. That's what's going on, and that's why what Mariah has said is so powerful. Don't be foolish. Vote Lateek Shabazz for mayor of East Cleveland. Thank you.
Mayor, did you want to say